Howdy folks, welcome back. I'm so glad you could join us again. I'm going to be doing a series of videos on the Microsoft Surface Pro 4, and I have a pretty basic model. It's the 128 gigabyte with the M processor and 4 gig of RAM. Now what I'm going to be doing in this video is I'm going to be prepping and performing a fresh installation of Windows on the device. Now in my case, I have an insider version of Windows on the device. I've been testing it out and I've decided that no, I don't want to have the insider previews on there anymore. I want to have a stable operating system so I can use this thing every day. So I'm going to be installing the current stable version of Windows 10. The current stable version of Windows 10 is version 1703. So this video is going to focus on that. However, this should work in the future as well, or for previous versions. Now this is a little bit different than actually downloading the recovery image from Microsoft. This is going to be an attempt to install the Windows operating system booting from USB. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get a tool called Rufus. I like to use this to make bootable USB devices. I'm also going to show you this, or link to this Microsoft Surface, how to boot from a USB device, in the description. Also in the description will be a link to obtain a copy of Rufus. So we're going to use these two web pages to get the information we need to build a bootable Windows 10 USB that we can boot our Surface from and perform a fresh installation. Okay folks, so I know what you're thinking. I don't have an installation media for Windows 10. No problem. I'm going to link to this website in the description. What we're going to do now, if you're trying to update the computer you're on, you can use the Update Assistant. However, due to what we're doing, we're going to create Windows 10 installation media. So we need to download what's called the Media Creation Tool. So we're going to go ahead and say Download Tool now. It's going to download. Now at this point we can create a USB with the tool, but I don't like to do that. I like to create just a regular ISO file, because I can use that ISO file, plug it into Rufus, and create my bootable USB along with some custom files and things on it. So I'm going to go ahead and launch this. We must accept the license terms. We do not want to upgrade this PC now. We want to create installation media for another PC. So we're going to select that. Next. Now, uncheck this because we're not upgrading this PC, so we don't necessarily want to use options for this PC. Now, with regard to what version of Windows 10 we want, well, Windows 10 comes with the Home Edition and the Professional Edition in the ISO. So what's going to happen is when we plug this into our Surface is going to have a license for Windows 10 Pro, so Windows 10 Pro will automatically be installed. Architecture is 64-bit. Obviously, if you're using this for different purposes, you can choose 32-bit and so on. So we are going to keep all the recommended options for this PC. However, that may not be the case in every scenario where you're using a computer to create installation media. So we're going to say Next. Now, it automatically selects USB flash drive. No, we don't want the USB flash drive at this point. We want an ISO file. We can create our USB flash drive later. And it's going to ask us where we want to store it. Now I've already went ahead and downloaded and created the ISO file. So once we have that, we're ready to move on. Okay folks, so at this point I'm ready to go ahead and start creating my bootable USB so that I can get my Surface up with a bare bones install of Windows. And that's the idea here, to get it bare bones. We don't want to take it out of the box, have an old version of Windows on there, and have to upgrade over top of that, and then over top of that, and so on and so forth. This is a fresh install. I highly recommend this, by the way, so that we can get rolling and have a good experience on our Surface Pro 4. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Rufus. I'm going to say yes. Yeah, let's go ahead and let it check for application updates. In this case, we just downloaded this from the website, so we're not going to have any application updates. So I have my 16 gig flash drive here. I'm going to recommend at least, at the bare minimum, 8 gig. But I have a 16 gig. And the reason why is because we're going to go to the Microsoft Surface Pro site here in just a second, really quickly. I'm going to also link to this in the description, because we're going to need this, very important. So here we are, Surface Pro for drivers and firmware. We're going to say download. And we're going to be given a bunch of different files. Now, in this case, we're using version number 1703, which is build 15063. Notice we have a zip here, we have an MSI here, and we have a WinTab here. Now, I like to download all three of these, but in this case, all we really need is the MSI file. But do make sure you're downloading the latest one for the version of the operating system that you're installing. In this case, it's 1703, also known as the Creator's Update. We're going to select the MSI file for that, and we're going to say next. And it's going to begin downloading that file. It's about 230 meg. Once this file download is complete, we're going to go ahead and copy this to our bootable USB so that after we install Windows on our Surface, we can go ahead and get a clean device manager. Now, I've gone ahead for the sake of this video and created the USB already. So I already have everything there. I created this folder called Surface Pro 4 Toolkit, and in there I have my files. Really, the only file I'm going to need is this MSI file here to get me going. Now, once you've done all that, there's a few settings to pay close attention to in Rufus. First, you want to make sure you've got the correct device selected. For partition scheme and target system type, we want GPT partition scheme for UEFI. I want to make sure that's selected. Also, for file system, FAT32. We must have FAT32. NTFS will not work. Cluster size, I'm leaving it at 8192 as the default. Volume label, ESD-ISO is fine. And the last part of this is we're going to select the ISO image we created with the media creation tool. So I'm going to navigate to my tech folder, and you see here I have Windows 10 x64 1703, and I'm going to go ahead and select that. And once you're ready, go ahead and click Start, and it will create a bootable USB device for your Surface. Now in the next videos, the quality is not going to be as good as it is here, but it is what it is, and we're going to actually boot the Surface Pro 4 from this USB device, install Windows, and install the MSI file to get a clean device manager. So without further ado, let's go ahead and move to that phase. Okay folks, so we have the bootable USB inserted into our Surface Pro 4. So what I'm going to do right now in order to boot from that is I'm going to hold down my volume down rocker and I'm going to hit the power button. And I'm going to continue to hold down that volume rocker until I see the Surface logo, and notice my USB is blinking, which means I'm getting information read from my USB to my Surface Pro 4. Now I'm at the setup screen. All the information is correct, so I'm going to say next. I'm going to select install now. Then I'm going to be presented with the Microsoft license agreement. In order to continue, I must accept the agreement. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and say next. We're going to do a custom installation. I'm going to go ahead and delete each one of these partitions. And when I'm finished deleting them, I'm going to have unallocated space. So as you can see, I have 119.2 gigabyte of unallocated space. I'm going to left click that to select. That's my install target. So I'm going to go ahead down and say next. And the Windows installation will kick off. So I'm going to let this go through and I will pick back up with you in a few moments. Okay, so here we are at the guided setup or out-of-box experience, whatever you want to call this, screen. And by default it's going to have Cortana talk to you, which is pretty interesting. I personally don't like Cortana, so I'm going to go ahead and select the sound icon to disable Cortana. Now, the region, we're going to select our region here. In my case, it's the United States, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes. A keyboard layout, United States, yes. Do we want to add a second keyboard layout? Some of you may find this useful. I have no need for a second keyboard layout, so I'm going to go ahead and skip. Next, it's going to want to connect to our network, and here you can see my guest network here in the lab. I'm going to skip this for now. Next, who's going to use this PC? So we're going to select who's going to use it, and we're just going to say Tech 411. Say next. And we're going to create a super memorable password in every sense of the word, actually. I'm just going to say password 1. And then I'm going to say next. We're going to confirm our password. Let me see here. Add a hint for our password. I'm just going to say easy. Then we're going to be prompted to make Cortana our personal assistant. Many of you would love to use this feature. I personally am not going to use that for the purposes of this video. So I'm going to say no. If you want to use it, obviously you can say yes. We're going to choose the privacy settings for our device. I'm going to accept the defaults and say accept. For you to use a Microsoft account to log into your device. The reason why I didn't, obviously, is because we skipped the network setup process, so it has no way to get online at this point. So I'm going to let this go through. I'm going to wait till I get my desktop, and when I do, we're going to go ahead and install the Surface toolkit items that I downloaded They're not really officially called the toolkit. I just call it the toolkit because there's several files that we downloaded that we need to install on the Surface once we've done the setup of Windows. Okay folks, so we're back. We have our desktop, not much really there. I still have my USB memory stick plugged into the side of my Surface. So I'm going to go ahead and open up File. And I'm going to go on to the ESDISO. And I created a little folder here I like to call the Surface Pro 4 Toolkit. So I'm going to right click that. I'm going to left click copy. And I'm going to put it into a folder on the device. I'll call it temp. Because we're obviously not going to keep these files on the device. We're going to install it and then we're going to be finished with it. Now I'll also be linking in the description to the Microsoft site where you can download these items. There's a whole bunch of other devices here that I want to get drivers installed for. So in there I'm going to have an MSI file that I downloaded from Microsoft. First I'm going to run that. And this is the Surface Pro 4 Update Setup Wizard for 64-bit. I'm going to say next. Again, as always, we must accept the license agreement to continue. And then we're going to go ahead and click install. We're going to ask, do we want to allow this app to make changes to our device? Yes, we do. So I'm going to let this install and I'll pick back up with you in a moment. Okay, so the installation is completed. We're going to go ahead and check Device Manager. And it looks like all of our unknown devices have disappeared. Now during this process, you're going to be prompted to reboot numerous times. Obviously we're going to need to reboot in order to apply these changes. So we're going to say finish. We're going to be prompted another time to reboot. So we're going to go ahead and say yes. Let's go ahead and reboot. Now as you can see, we've went ahead and rebooted. I'm going to enter my ultra hard password. And we're going to go ahead and log in. And let's get back to Device Manager just to check on things. And as you can see, we have a clean Device Manager at this point. So ladies and gentlemen, at this point we're ready to go ahead and do some customization to this Surface Pro. We're going to be deploying these devices. We can go ahead and do our company customizations and whatnot here. But at this point, everything is a go. So we're going to go back to the computer and I'm going to wrap up. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back for a few words. I hope you found this information useful. I highly recommend that when you get a Surface Pro 4 or Surface Pro or whatnot, that you actually do a fresh install of Windows. Most likely, you're not going to have the latest build of Windows installed on the device, so you're going to need to upgrade. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I like to have a nice fresh install to get started. Now, as always, I've got all the links in the description. If there's something I missed, please put it down in the comments section. And be nice, folks. Don't attack each other or attack me. We're all here to help each other. If you like this video, folks, please give it a thumbs up. We greatly appreciate that. Click the subscribe button and you'll get notified when new content is added to our channel. As always, comments, questions, and suggestions are welcome below, and thank you for watching.